Good evening and welcome to the March 16th, 2022 meeting of the Anacortes Planning Commission. We'll take roll call. There are two commissioners who might be on remote access. There are no minutes. And at the present time, the Planning Commission and City Attorney will now meet in executive session to discuss potential litigation or litigation as allowed by RCW 42.30.1101 sub 1. We'll be in executive session for approximately 15 minutes until 6:15. At the conclusion of the executive session, the commissioners will return to regular session and no action will be taken during the executive session. Okay, the Planning Commission meeting is back in session. I believe we have a staff presentation on the next agenda item.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I'd like to request the removal of item 2 under new business. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we won't be able to make the presentation on the 2021 docket of the Comprehensive Plan and Development Regulation amendments this evening. So we would probably bring those back on the 23rd.
All right, thank you, sir.
And then with that, I do have a presentation for the commissioners.
Go right ahead.
Things rearranged a little bit here. Mr. Chair, commissioners, members of the audience. So this evening we are here to briefly discuss the proposed critical areas amendments of Chapter 1970. There are a total of four amendments. We have had public notice in the newspaper, on our website, and in the appropriate places. We've notified the Department of Commerce of this action. They've reviewed that under a expedited review. And so I think we've followed all the steps. There are no written comments as of the date of, or the time of the hearing this evening. So our first amendment is to Table 1970-235B, and this is to increase the required buffer widths consistent with the Department of Ecology guidelines for Category 3 wetlands with a high level of function for wildlife habitat. And I've copied the table here, and I might mention that I did include in your packets the entire Critical Areas Ordinance, Chapter 1970, and so I know there's a lot of pages in there, and so that's why I've copied them here. And this particular one is on page 37 of that packet. And so what happens here is with the high level of function of score of 8 or 9 points on wetland rating form, the actual Category 3 buffer would be for high intensity 300, moderate intensity 225, low intensity 150. And this is consistent with the Washington State Department of Ecology guidelines. Item number 2 is amending Anacortes Municipal Code 1970.330C to eliminate the allowance for stream buffer reductions and then just renumber some of the sections as needed so that we have the actual consistency in the code. And having looked at this, the city is already at a 50-foot buffer for the streams, and that is basically the minimum that we have found through best available science, and therefore reduction just doesn't seem reasonable for that. The third amendment is 1970-330F, and this is to eliminate the allowance for stream relocations and then again renumber as needed. And it's been our experience that relocation of streams really is not something that would fit with best available science, and in the only case that I can see where that might be reasonable is if there was a stream that was a piped portion of the stream that you might want to relocate and open up, and in those cases it could be based on a variance through Critical Areas Ordinance. And then here the last proposed amendment is 1970-340 to eliminate the allowance for fish and wildlife habitat conservation buffer with averaging, and again renumber as needed. And again, this just wasn't consistent with best available science after taking a thorough look at the best available science available. So with that, staff recommends opening the public hearing for comments, or unless you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those as well.
No comments being heard, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public who has comments or would like to make a presentation of any kind?
Good evening. My name's Marlene Finley. I'm with Evergreen Islands, and I'd like to thank you for considering these amendments to the critical area ordinance, and also thank the staff for the work they did and for taking our comments seriously and making these corrections. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? None being heard, we will close the public meeting and proceed to discussion amongst the commission members. Do any of the commissioners have comments or questions? Yeah. I would entertain a motion. Okay, we'll take roll. Mr. Molyneux? Aye. Mr. Jarecki? Aye. Dr. Martin? Aye. Mr. Graff is not present. Ms. Ruther? Aye. And Mr. Curtis?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. With no further business on the agenda, we will close the Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, and it's nice to see all of you in person. Thank you.